What is up, ghosties? Welcome back to Tales of Spooky Coffee House. If you're new here, welcome to our podcast. I'm Chelsea,
And I'm Veronica.
and we're your hosts. On today's episode, we'll be discussing our haunted location, Calle de las Tres Cruces. Did I say that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, just the
Yeah?
first word, it's Calle. The L's are,
Guy. Oh, that's right. I always forget
yeah.
that part.
But you
Okay.
did really good. Good job.
And serial killer of the week, Delphine LaLaurie. It was very hard going from Spanish to French right there.
Ugh, yeah, it's hard having that amount of talent, you know?
uh, are you saying I'm talentless?
No, anyways, continue.
I had to. Anyways, we're gonna end our show with a special tarot reading. I almost said podcast reading.
I mean, technically, it is. Should we let them know what reading it is, or
No.
okay? Oh, okay.
So Veronica, how you been? What are you drinking?
I am finishing up I just got a caramelized coffee from Jack in the Box because we had that for lunch earlier. I might regret it because I have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes. Other than that, I'm good. Planning a San Diego trip with my mom soon, so that's gonna be fun. How are you and what are you drinking?
I'm doing good. I'm drinking coffee out of my new mug. It's not really a
Ooh.
mug. It's a travel mug, but so I'm trying new creamer. I'm trying Snickers creamer,
Hmm. Do you
and
feel
it's not.
happier?
No.
Oh.
It's definitely sweet. It's not something that I would drink on a daily basis, and I would
Mm-hmm.
not spend the money to get a whole bottle of creamer again,
Mm-hmm.
but that's okay. But my new mug, I want to talk about it because I just got it from the fair the other day.
Mm-hmm.
It glows in the dark,
Ooh, we like things that glow in the dark.
and it's Hocus Pocus. It has the Sanderson sisters on it.
The Three Witches.
Yes, the three witches. And so I I know you haven't seen Hocus Pocus 1, but I wanted to talk about Hocus Pocus 2.
Okay, before you start talking about Hocus Pocus 2, do you want to be disappointed in me?
What do you mean?
I tried watching Hocus Pocus, the first one, and I didn't like it, so I stopped watching it.
How dare you?
I know, a lot of
The
people are gonna
first one
hate me
is
for
a
that.
classic.
Yeah, no, thanks.
How dare you?
Sorry, not sorry. Anyways, Hocus Pocus 2?
You are a disgrace.
I know, I've heard
Hocus
this all
Pocus 2
before.
Hocus Pocus 2 was funny and it was okay if it was a standalone. As a sequel to Hocus Pocus, the original, it fucking sucked.
Really?
Yes, like I am so angry, it's not even funny.
I know, I don't know, I wouldn't know what you're talking about, like, how, but why, what about it sucked?
Everything. Like they just basically were if you're going on like the undertone mood and setting, it was completely different. Like the original was like very serious, like these witches are evil and this and that. And they were like a joke in this one. So
Maybe
like
they were trying to go more for like a comedy.
yeah, and it didn't work that way. Like it was horrible. And if you because I don't remember who I was talking to, but if you compare it to like the Scream franchise, they were like, "Well, Scream did that with all these new remakes." Technically they didn't because there was always that underlying humor silly tone to the original 3 movies.
Mm-hmm.
And there was none of that in the original Hocus Pocus, and it's just I think that it completely ruined it.
Interesting.
A teaser to a possible third movie, and I'm just like, no, like not interested at all.
I wonder how other people feel about it. Ghosties, if you've seen it, let us know. I'm curious.
My mom said it was okay for her.
Yeah.
She's like, I could have done without the drag queens because that part was like, it wasn't even like they didn't even like talk about them. They were just there, and it was like, why bring them up but then not say anything about them?
Yeah.
And then like the Sanderson sisters just kind of like pushed them all off stage, and that was kind of like a pointless scene. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She was like, "I could have done without that part because it kinda" and it did, it kinda seemed useless. The only, like, part that they were trying to do was to put them on a stage, which was a reference to the first movie, and it was just weird. So, yeah, that's my very opinionated thought on Hocus Pocus 2.
I'm really sorry about that, dude.
I'm really sorry too. I was so excited, and now I'm like, I
Yeah,
want a
you were.
refund on my cup.
You were talking about it for quite a I mean, your cup could be just as a thing for like the first movie, you know? Like
Yeah,
this is just one of those maybe like wannabe money makers type things. So you just
and it
focus on the first
definitely
one.
was. Like the book was way better too.
There's a book.
Yeah, so somebody made a book. It has two parts to it. It was basically like the first movie in it, and the sequel actually like wasn't that bad, but this
Hmm.
was just ridiculous. But I think it goes back to that like tone that I was telling you about. Like it wasn't trying to make fun of it. It was like trying to actually be a legitimate sequel.
I see.
So it felt like they were making fun of it, and I wasn't okay with that.
Well, I have a follow-up question that might lighten up your mood.
A follow-up question?
From last episode,
Oh God.
I had asked you a question, and that question was if you had a club, what kind of club would you have, and what would you need to qualify to be a part of this club?
Why
Um,
is there a follow-up to this?
because I thought about it, I think at work the other day, and I was like, that's a good question. I kind of want to ask her that.
Oh gosh.
And so then I was like, I'll just wait for the podcast and ask her then, because I'm sure the ghosties want to know this very important, like, question, the answer to this question at least. So that question being, and for those of you who don't remember, her answer was the type of club Chelsea would have. So my follow-up question is, what would you name your sex club? Like, what would be the name of it?
What would be the name of my hypothetical sex club that should have never got brought up again?
You brought yourself to this. You could have said something else.
It was the first thing that popped into my head.
And we need to not say what the first thing that pops into our head is right away, okay? We got to think about it.
You want a real response. Like, I don't want to be fake. Sorry.
Okay, so then don't be complaining that you answered sex club and that we're talking about it again. Anyways, answer the question.
I don't I don't know. Like Dark Desires sounds cool.
Dark desires.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that.
Alrighty, Rue. Okay, so I have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
I am very curious to know what would be your perfect LA day.
LA, or can I just do like LA County?
Yeah, I guess LA County.
Um Fuck, I don't know.
What was the point of that question then? This guy. This guy.
I was trying to like broaden my choices, and then it kind of just like overwhelmed me. So I don't know, probably you, me, and Steph, coffee, maybe a little bit of um oh, what's the word I'm looking for?
Alcohol, drugs.
Uh, didn't we just talk about don't say the first thing that comes to your head?
Well, you asked the question, bro.
I was thinking like polishing, or not polishing, but like,
Huh?
oh my God, what is the word I'm looking for?
I love this.
It's when you
Uh-huh. When you
it's
when you when you
when you like spend money on yourself, like you get your hair and your nails and
self-care.
no.
What?
No, I
Spa
wasn't.
day.
Yeah, but there's like it starts with a P.
A P.
Mm-hmm. Pampering.
Pampering. Jesus.
So the three of us pampering ourselves, and
We that's just proof that we don't do enough of that.
yeah, I know. I don't remember when the last time I got my nails done was. I think it was like 2 years ago.
Oh, mine was like two
Um,
weeks ago.
okay, whatever. So yeah, we would do that. Speaking of drugs, we would definitely need to hit up a couple dispensaries.
Hmm.
Alcohol would come at the end of the night, I think, after we already get like our snacks and go to dinner.
And Nana's pool, we could have
Oh my
wine,
God,
the
yes.
jacuzzi.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's it. With the jets on too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Like that's the perfect day.
Okay,
Maybe
give
we
me.
go see something spooky, but it depends on how long our hair and our nails take too.
Well, it's your day. If it was my day, shit. But yeah, no, it's your day. You do you, boo.
I know you would want to go to the spooky places first, but I would just like to sit with you guys and hang out because I haven't done that in a while. So,
That would be nice, dude.
what would be your perfect LA day?
My perfect LA day, I think I would want to go have an early breakfast somewhere and then go to the beach and then clean up and probably like go have lunch somewhere. And then what should we do in the afternoon? Well, okay, so I'm assuming that it's gonna be winter time, right? So it's cooler weather. So I'd probably want to go to like a
But
museum.
if it's the perfect day, you can choose the weather.
Ah, dope. So yeah, I'd either want to go to a museum or go to Descanso Gardens in La Cañada and walk around, have lunch there, blah blah blah, and then go somewhere spooky at night, like maybe go hiking at Griffith Park, smoke a couple joints, and then go get like a late night dinner type thing for the munchies. But yeah, that would be my perfect LA day. Super LA. You got hiking, you got beach, and I don't know what else I said, but yeah,
Technically, in the winter, you also have snow.
not out here though. But I don't mind
Big
not
Bear,
having snow.
Big Bear.
Yeah. But I'm not I don't care for the snow. I didn't grow up going too much or like, so it doesn't mean much to me. I'd rather be at the beach.
My mom used to do both. She used to, like I said, she'd go to the beach and then they would go to the mountains
Hmm.
on the same day. And I was like, it's perfect because you can have literally the perfect combination of both. You don't have to worry about the snow because at the end of the day, you're going back to the nice weather.
I see. That's a trip though, going from like snowing to oh yeah, let's just go back to the sun.
Right?
Like that's Cali for you. So another question I have for you, Chelsea, is if you could control any element, which one would you choose?
Fire.
Fire.
I've actually thought about this question a lot, like for years since I was younger.
Uh-huh.
Just because I'm into like the fantasy novels and movies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a conversation that I've had with my mom before,
Mm-hmm.
and I am definitely fire.
All right. I would want to be like Earth.
I can see you being Earth.
Hell yeah, dude. Anyways, those are my
So
questions. Thank you so much for your time. Goodbye.
I have questions for you.
Sure.
If animals could talk, which one do you think would be the rudest?
Which one would I think would be the rudest?
Yeah. Like you remember in that Supernatural episode where Dean could talk to animals
Mm.
and the bird was a complete asshole?
I was gonna say a crow because I feel like all they do is just judge you as you drive or walk by and like talk shit to you, but I don't speak crow, so I don't understand what they're saying. But I guarantee you those shit. So yeah, I'm gonna say crows.
Okay.
What do you think? What would you think the rudest animal is?
Um,
Probably cats too, man.
yeah, I was gonna say cats, honestly, because they have the personalities where they're like, instead of this is my cat, the cats are like, these are my humans. They have a
Mm.
very like superiority complex going on, so I think they would be the rudest without even trying.
Yeah, shout out to Z's cat that attacked me and tried mauling my leg off.
Well, what'd you
Unbelievable.
do to
And
it?
they just watched it happen. Me, I was like screaming for my life and no one came to my rescue. They literally just looked and they're like, "What happened?" And they're like,
Well, what'd you
"Oh,
do to the cat?
what did I do to the cat?"
Yeah.
I donated it to this Chinese restaurant.
I meant I meant what'd you do to the cat to make it mad
Oh,
at you? Oh my
damn
god.
it. Now they're gonna know that their cat didn't just run away. Nothing. I was just sitting there.
See, if you had said that originally, I was gonna say, well, cats would feel like you did something if they attacked you. Like that's part of the superiority
I was
complex.
literally just fucking being a human, sitting on the couch watching, I think we were watching the Elvis movie or Black Phone or something. And then I think it was just playing with like my shoes or something. And at first like it was fine, like whatever, play with my shoe, I don't care. But then I felt like it bite me on my leg and I was like, ah, it's attacking me. Even though it really wasn't, but you know me, I like being
Okay,
dramatic.
so Yeah, obviously, you sold the cat to a Chinese place. Anyways, what kind of secret society would you like to start?
Ooh. Secret society. A secret society that I would probably have would be like, I don't know. um
Come on, what's the first thing that comes to your brain?
Nothing. Nothing. My brain is blank. What Okay, what's your answer? Maybe I'll fucking get inspired or something. Oh no. Oh no.
So when I first saw that question, the immediate thought that came to my brain was a secret society of assassins, but
Oh,
like female assassins. So like pretending to be prostitutes or something and then like luring the men in and either poisoning them or just killing them.
wow. So
Yeah.
you'd be like the today's version of what is it, Julia?
Yeah, but the difference would be I wouldn't hire people that I didn't know. So like I wouldn't put my trust into the wives to kill their husbands because that's how Julia got caught.
She didn't hire them.
Technically, she gave them the potion and they had to go kill their husbands themselves. I would have like a whole actual society of people that I trusted to get the job done.
All right. Either way, either
No
way.
liabilities.
Ugh. That is not nowhere near close of the societies I was thinking, but and no, I did
So
not
what were
find
you
any
thinking?
I didn't find any inspiration from that.
I didn't think you would.
I honestly don't know. A secret society of the paranormal. I don't know. People, I don't know, dude. I really don't know. I don't know.
You're terrible at this.
I know. Well, that's a terrible question to ask.
You just said it was a good question.
No, no, I
Yes,
did
you did.
not. No,
Yes, you did.
I did
Yes,
not.
you
Can
did.
you move on, please? Jesus.
What's the weirdest or rudest thing a guest has ever done at your house?
Okay, so I have this former friend that literally came into my house and just started eating our food and then left. And I don't remember if it was like after school, before school, or what. But and if Taylor's listening to this, she knows who it is too.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that was pretty weird and annoying and
Like
rude.
they didn't even hang out with you or anything. They just
I
walked
didn't
in,
even
grabbed
see
food,
him.
and are you serious?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to text me who this person is. I have to know. Oh, yeah, I can see her doing that. That was yeah. I never liked her. Okay, so you want to get us started with the haunted location of the week?
Yes, I do. Also, oh, I remember what I wanted to tell you earlier. Finally. So, ghosties, I am going to be talking about Calle de las Tres Cruces, the street with the three crosses, I guess it translates to. This takes place in Zacatecas, Mexico. So, if you guys remember last week, I was pretty upset that out of all the countries that listened to us, there was one little country that wasn't there. Well, literally the day we posted last week's episode, I once again checked, and sure enough, guess who shows up? Mexico.
Mexico.
So, welcome, and let's go back to this haunted location. So, Zacatecas, in addition to being a place full of unique landscapes, great architecture, and historical wealth, it's also a destination that holds great mysteries of experiences which occurred in its streets and over time have turned into legends. One of the best known inhabitants of the state is known as Calle de las Tres Cruces, which tells of a tragic story similar to Romeo and Juliet and still gives goosebumps to those who pass through the capital today. The legend occurred in November 1763 and took place in a street that today is known as San Francisco, which is very close to the Centro Histórico de la Capital Zacatecana. In those days, a high society gentleman, Don Diego de Galinar, was a wealthy man who owned a beautiful three-story mansion. Noise. In this place, he was accompanied by his niece, Beatrice Moncada, who was under his guardianship after having lost her parents. Don Diego was her tutor, and she was not allowed to go to parties or go out to any other place except the church. That sounds fun. Don Diego wanted to marry Beatriz off to his only son, Antonio, who had gone to the port of Veracruz to fight pirates. As Beatriz was heir to the great fortune of her parents, Don Diego was pleased to think that once she was united with her cousin, her family fortune would remain in his hands. Greedy, greedy.
Mm-hmm.
Beatrice was very beautiful, so she did not go unnoticed among the gentlemen. Several of them tried to win her heart without success, but one day, at a festival in the region, the young woman met a very humble boy of indigenous origin named Gabriel. The two fell in love instantly. Night after night, Gabriel would appear at the foot of his beloved's balcony to dedicate songs to her in secret. For those of you who don't know, I know this sounds kind of cheesy maybe. One, this is in the 1700s. Two, this is in Mexico. This is actually very common in Mexico. We kind of still continue with this tradition. I don't know if you guys have seen like TikToks or stuff like that, where the family hires a mariachi to serenade the birthday girl, birthday boy outside of the house early in the morning. Anyways, needed to say that.
For those of you who were born in America, it's kind of similar to the 80s where they would take the boombox outside of the window.
Did that actually happen?
Yeah, I know a couple of people who said they've seen it happen. It wasn't just
Wow.
in the movies.
Interesting, interesting. I'm gonna Google that. She enjoyed these tokens of love. What the lovers did not know is that Don Diego already had Beatrice's future planned, since he promised her hand in marriage to his son. On one of the many occasions that Gabriel serenaded the young woman, Don Diego decided to investigate the mysterious violin melody that he had been listening to outside his house for several nights. As soon as the midnight chimes had finished ringing, little did he suspect that the person responsible for the song was the young indigenous man, Gabriel Garcia, who had fallen in love with Beatrice when he ran into her at Sunday Mass. So it took that long for Don Diego to finally question what that music was every night.
Well, if you said like mariachi music was normal, maybe he just figured it was normal, but then thought it was weird that it was at midnight constantly, like consistently, you know?
I see you, I see you. Beatrice had gone up to the viewpoint to listen to the serenade, corresponding with all her soul to the feelings of that humble boy, and Don Diego had followed her. When Don Diego noticed Gabriel, he exploded in anger at realizing his intentions with his niece. He furiously demanded that the boy get away from his niece, since he already had an engagement arranged. In response, Gabriel yelled back that he was in love with Beatrice. Don Diego lost his temper at such a confession, drew his sword, and began to struggle with Gabriel. Don Diego lost the fight with the boy, was wounded, and died on the floor. In the distance, one of Don Diego's servants witnessed the whole scene, and to avenge his patron, he stabbed Gabriel in the back. The young man died from the attack. Beatrice, who had seen everything from the top of her room, fainted due to the horrific scene of watching both her uncle and lover be murdered within minutes of each other. Unfortunately, when she fainted, she fell off the balcony from which she had so many times enjoyed the serenades of her beloved. Her fall was so strong that it resulted in her death. There's a lot of people dying right now, okay?
Like Romeo and Juliet.
Exactly. You die, I die.
You die, and you die, and you die. We all die.
Yeah! The two gentlemen and the girl died in that spot. The next day, to commemorate them, the locals painted 3 whitewashed crosses on the floor right where their bodies had been. From that moment, this street took on an air of mystery and supernatural. They even began to call it the Street of the 3 Crosses, Calle de las Tres Cruces. Currently, it is said that if you go at night or at dawn, you can run into the soul and pain of one of the lovers or that of Don Diego, who still cannot rest in peace. Many tourists visit La Calle de las Tres Cruces to learn about the place of origin of this tragic legend. Witnesses have been known to confirm that at night, they have seen and heard cries from beyond the grave, who they think could possibly be the souls of those who died there, recreating the scene of their death over and over again, as if they were in an endless time loop. And I just had a flashback to Dean just consistently dying and waking up. It was the heat of the moment.
Moment.
It was the heat. It was the heat.
Yesterday was Tuesday, but today is Tuesday too.
I love the Trickster episodes. I really do. They're so funny.
I do too. I loved the Trickster episodes and the prank episodes.
Yeah, the prank ones are funny. I think.
And what are they called? The ghost hunting group. Yeah, whatever they were called. I
Yeah,
love them.
them.
Yeah.
They're funny. Annoying, but funny.
Very annoying.
All right. Well, thank you, Ghosties, for listening to me for Haunted Location of the Week. That was a fun story. I felt like I was telling a story, huh? It was kind of set up that way. Chelsea,
I
would you
got lost
mind?
in it.
Did you?
Yeah, I got lost in it.
I get lost in your eyes.
Oh, see, you can be so sweet sometimes.
I'm just kidding. I never even see your face, dude. All right,
You're like a
serial
Sour
killer of the
Patch
week.
Kid.
Yeah, but I'm the opposite. I'm sweet and then I'm sour.
So, serial killer of the week is Delphine LaLaurie. Now,
LaLaurie.
yeah, I don't know if that's how you say it, but we're rolling with it.
Yeah.
Now, if this name might sound familiar if you're a fan of American Horror Story or if you at least enjoyed season 3 Coven. This historical serial killer was portrayed by Kathy Bates, and I absolutely loved this casting.
I
It's
hate
the
it.
first. What?
That fucking season is traumatizing AF, dude. For
Well,
someone
that
that doesn't
doesn't.
like gore, like, ugh. No, but the casting was great. You're right.
Yeah, I was like, that had nothing to do with the casting.
I'm just having flashbacks to the episode now. Like, why did you have to bring it up?
Okay, well, I'll just tell you now that there's a big trigger warning then.
Oh, yeah, thanks. See, if I hadn't have said anything, you would have never given us a trigger warning.
No, that's not true. I have a trigger warning reminder in like slideshow 3 or 4.
2
I'm
hours
only on
later.
one. I'm only on one.
All right, continue.
So so I absolutely love this casting. It's the first character that Kathy Bates played in the series, and when I found out about it, I was ecstatic. Only because I like Kathy Bates as an actress, and I've known about Delphine for like before that, so I was really excited to see how she portrayed her character.
Hmm.
But anyways, so the real Delphine was born March 19th, 1787 as Delphine McCarty or McCarthy. It kind of got lost on how you spell or pronounce her last name.
Mm.
She died December 7th, 1849, supposedly, and she was married 3 times, widowed twice, and was a New Orleans socialite and serial killer who tortured and murdered slaves in her household. So now that you have the overview, let's go into some more specific details.
Oh, yay.
So both of Delphine's parents were prominent in the town's European Creole community. Her uncle by marriage, Esteban Rodriguez Murillo, was governor of the Spanish American provinces of Louisiana and Florida during 1785 through 1791. Her cousin, Augustin de McCarthy, was mayor of New Orleans from 1815 to 1820. Now, that's just some of her family.
Mm-hmm.
When she was 4 years old, when the Haitian Revolution erupted in 1791, something that made slaveholders in southern United States and the Caribbean very afraid of resistance and rebellion among slaves. Delphine's uncle was known to have murdered his slaves in 1771, and the revolution inspired the local Mina conspiracy, the Point Coupe conspiracy in 1794, and the 1811 German Coast Uprising. So his torture of his and murder of his slaves inspired 3 different conspiracies, all of which caused many slaveholders to abuse slaves even more harshly out of fear for insurrection. Now, knowing this information, it kind of builds on where her hatred for slaves began.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about her marriages. So her first marriage was on June 11th, 1800, at the age of 13. She married Don Ramon de Lopez y Angulo. God, that was a mouthful.
You got through it, and I'm proud of you.
He was a high-ranking Spanish royal officer known as Caballero de la Royal del Carlos. Yeah, we're going to go with that. That's also a mouthful. In 1804, after the American acquisition of what was then again a French territory, Don Ramon had been appointed to the position of consul general for Spain in the territory of New Orleans. He was called to appear at the court of Spain. While en route to Madrid with Delphine, who was then pregnant with their child, he suddenly died in Havana. A few days after his death, Delphine gave birth to his daughter before they returned to New Orleans. Now, supposedly he was killed by the Spanish crown because he was constantly going against their orders and was even under trial for a bit for conspiracy against the crown.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not exactly known exactly how he died, but most people believe that he was murdered by the crown. Don't come after me. So her second marriage took place in June of 1808, 4 years after her first one. She married Jean Blanquet, a prominent banker, merchant, lawyer, and legislator. Delphine had 4 children by him. I'm not going to names just because they're mouthfuls and there's 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
But her youngest died in 1816. The rest of them seem to have lived for like normal time lengths.
Yeah.
Delphine was 28 years old when Blanquet's entire estate was left to her to handle after his death. So his oh blah 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 blah.
Yeah, right?
His estate consisted of debts that totaled over 160,000, which is over 2.5 million in today's currency. In 1816, Delphine renounced their community property to the courts and forfeited all their mutual assets to protect and keep her personal property. Over the next 10 years, Delphine auctioned off much of his property, including slaves, to try and pay off his debts. She even purchased one piece of his property herself at auction, as well as retained some of his slaves. Records show that 8 of the slaves she now owned at the time died in a span of about 5 years. Most were children or women of childbearing age, all of which the causes of death are unknown.
Is it true of the type of torture she do to them like they portrayed on the show?
We're going to talk about that.
Oh Jesus, okay.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Cool.
So, the debt that her second husband left behind could have completely depleted her wealth, but she had the luck of the Irish, even though it came in the form of morbid and macrobay luck. Her father, whose name I'm also not going to pronounce, passed away in 1824, leaving his children with a substantial inheritance. So it was this inheritance that put her back on her feet. On June
Okay.
25th, 1825, a year after her father died, Delphine married her third husband, physician Leonard Louis Nicolas LaLaurie. However, it has been discovered that the date of their marriage was rolled back 6 months because having a child out of wedlock would have been frowned upon in their circle of high society, which they did have a child out of wedlock. If you didn't catch that. So he was significantly younger than her. She was 40 at the time and he was 25, but she was extremely wealthy again by the time they met. So within that year, she had almost quadrupled her money. In 1831, she bought property at 1140 Royal Street, which she managed in her own name with little involvement of her husband.
Mm-hmm.
In 1832, she had a 2-story mansion built there, complete with an attached slave quarters. She lived there with her third husband and 2 of her daughters. The marriage soon showed signs of strain because on November 16th, 1832, Delphine petitioned the First Judicial District Court for a separation from bed and board of her husband, in which Delphine claimed that Leonard had treated her, this is a quote, had treated her in such a manner as to render their living together unsupportable. These claims, which her son and 2 of her daughters confirmed. The separation doesn't seem to have been permanent, as Dr. LaLaurie was present at the Royal Street house fire on April 10th, 1834, which we're going to
Mm-hmm.
get to next.
Mm-hmm.
So, this entire time, she had maintained her position in New Orleans society as a high standing member until April 10th, 1834, about 10 years, when rescuers responded to a fire at her Royal Street mansion, attic, who showed evidence of cruel, violent abuse over long periods of time. The LaLaurie's house was subsequently sacked by an outraged mob of New Orleans citizens. She escaped to France with her family. We'll kind of get more into her escape, but the LaLaurie mansion at 1140 Royal Street in the French Quarter today was
Mhm.
rebuilt after her departure from New Orleans. Her original house, because it was burned by the mob, was considered to be of historical significance, so they rebuilt it and it's now considered a landmark in the city. So if you want to go visit her house, you totally could.
I think I might. I don't know. She's kind of like a dark character, so
Yeah. I am in love with New Orleans history because my family's from there, like 3 generations back. No, 4 generations. 3.5 generations. Anyways, so we're gonna talk about her slaves.
let's talk about the poor people.
So the accounts of Delphine's treatment of her slaves between 1831 and 1834 are very mixed. Harriet Martineau, I'm saying her name wrong, who is an important figure in history as she's seen as the first female sociologist. She recounted her tales in 1838 about her visit to New Orleans, where residents during her 1836 visit claimed that slaves of LaLaurie's were observed to be, and this is a quote, singularly haggard and wrenched. However, in public appearances, the LaLauries were seen to be generally polite to Black people and solicitous of the health of those that were enslaved. So, very mixed signals going on there.
Hmm.
Funeral registers between 1830 and 1834 documented deaths of 12 slaves at the Royal Street Mansion, although the causes of death are not mentioned, and infectious diseases could have easily been the cause. Court records of the time showed that LaLaurie freed 2 of her slaves, Jean Lewis in 1819 and Devenance in 1832. So it's very suspicious, like why she would free 2 of her slaves, but then torture others because,
Hmm.
wouldn't she be worried that those 2 slaves would speak, you know?
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, so it's like, it's very mixed signals. But this Harriet lady wrote that public rumors about the LaLaurie's mistreatment of slaves on her property were sufficiently widespread that a local lawyer was dispatched to the Royal Street home to remind the LaLauries of the laws for upkeep of slaves. During the visit, the lawyer found no evidence of wrongdoing or mistreatment of slaves by the family. So
Wow.
so they were checked on and nothing was seen. So
Hmm.
that's another thing as well. Like it's all so mixed. It's that goes back to your question, like, was the TV show true? It's very mixed. So Harriet also recounted that other tales of Delphine's cruelty that were current in the New Orleans residence at about 1836 said that after the lawyer, one of her neighbors saw an 8-year-old slave girl fall to her death from the roof of the mansion while trying to avoid punishment from a quote whip wielding LaLaurie. The boy was subsequently the boy was buried on the mansion grounds. Jean Delavine, in her 1945 account, gave the child's age as 12 years old and gave her a name Lila or Lay. So it went from a boy to a girl. So that story is very mixed as well, but the
Hmm.
the child part was still the same. Later, other writers elaborated on the case, saying that Lay had been brushing Delphine's hair when she hit a snag, causing Delphine to grab a whip and chase her. So, yeah.
Not the whip.
According to Harriet, this incident led to an investigation of Riley's, which they were found guilty of illegal cruelty and forced to forfeit 9 slaves of their household. These 9 slaves were bought back by the Lorellis through a relative and returned to the Royal Street residence. So they escaped just to be bought back.
Wow.
And that goes back to, not wanting them to be ratted out.
Hmm.
So there's a lot being said here, good, bad, and even hearsay. But there's also even talk that she was inspired by the tale of Elizabeth Bathory, which, if you don't know who she is, check out episode 25 on this topic. Others say that people were trying to modernize Bathory's story and used rumors and tacked it onto Delphine's story.
Mm.
Many people believe, too, that it's not a coincidence that these rumors started after her third marriage. They argued that Leonard was the one who tortured the slaves for his experiments with Haitian voodoo potions in order to produce more submissive slaves. So here's where the trigger warning starts, okay?
Okay.
On April 10th, 1834, the fire broke out in the Laurelli's residence on Rural Street, starting in the kitchen. When the police and fire marshals got there, they found that the cook, a 70-year-old woman, was chained to the stove by her ankle. She later said that she set the fire as a suicide attempt because she feared being punished. She also said that slaves who were taken up to the uppermost room never came back. As reported in the New Orleans Bee in April 11th, 1834, bystanders responding to the fire attempted to enter the quarters of those enslaved to ensure that everyone had been evacuated. Upon being refused the keys by the Laurellis, the bystanders broke down the doors to the quarters and found, quote, 7 slaves, more or less horribly mutilated, suspended by the neck with their limbs apparently stretched and torn from one extremity to the other, end quote. And they also claimed to have been imprisoned there for some months.
Were they dead or alive when they found them? I'm hoping they're dead if they're being found like that.
Both.
But Jesus.
Yeah, they were both. So, when the discovery of the abused slaves became widely known, a mob of local citizens attacked Laurelli residents. And they, quote, demolished and destroyed everything upon which they could lay their hands, unquote. A sheriff and his officers were called upon to disperse the crowd, but by the time the mob left, the property had sustained major damage with pretty much nothing except for the walls remaining. The slaves were taken to a local jail where they were available for public viewing. The Bee reported that by April 12th, up to 4,000 people had attended to view the slaves to convince themselves of their sufferings. The Pittsfield Sun, citing the New Orleans Advertiser and writing several weeks after the evacuation of Laurelli's quarters of slaves, claimed that 2 of the slaves found in the mansion had died since their rescue. Which, I mean, if they're just leaving them there for public viewing and not taking care of them, like, it's understandable why they would die. Okay, so after the fire, Delphine's life after the 1834 fire is not well documented. Harriet wrote in her book from 1838 that the Laurellis fled New Orleans during the mob violence that followed the fire, the waterfront, and traveled by schooner to Mobile, Alabama, before heading to Paris. Which, if you don't know what a schooner is, it's a boat.
Mm-hmm.
The mob was so angry at her escape that when back, it supposedly said that the determined crowd met the carriage and began to destroy the carriage and stab the horses to death. Delphine and Leonard eventually ended up in Paris with Delphine's children coming over for extended stays. Leonard lived off of Delphine's wealth, but grew tired of her complaining and left her in Paris, and he made his way back to Havana. Shortly after, more of Delphine's family moved to Paris, where they all occupied homes in the first arrondissement. She had her family back together by that point. The circumstances of Delphine's death are also unclear and does not specify the cause. Letters between her and her children talk about a lingering illness she had been suffering from, and around her grave, it was said to have said she died on December 7th, 1842, but the French archives of Paris have it recorded that she died on December 7th, 1849, at the age of 62. So kind of a year difference, but the day is the same.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as I said earlier, the house was rebuilt, and it was rebuilt by Pierre Tresor. Over the following decades, it was used as a public high school, a conservatory of music, an apartment building, a refuge for young delinquents, a bar, a furniture store, and a luxury apartment building. Then in 2007, actor Nicolas Cage bought the house for a sum of $3.45 million.
Wow.
To protect the actor's privacy, the mortgage documents were arranged in a way that his name didn't appear.
Mm-hmm.
So most people didn't even know that he owned it. But then on November 13th, 2009, the property, which was then valued at $3.5 million instead of 3.4, not a really big difference, was listed for auction as a result of foreclosure and was purchased by the region's financial corporation for $2.3 million. The property last changed hands in 2010 when it was purchased by the current owner, Michael Whalen, for $2.1 million. So it's estimated to be worth over $3 million, and it's been sold multiple times for $2 million.
If you had the money, would you ever want to own the house and live in the house?
I don't know about wanting to live there. I mean, it's technically not the same house, so but like that,
Yeah,
just
but then
knowing the
again,
history.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of messed up.
Also, if you lived in those times, like, would you like want to try to go after them? Like, what would you do, or would you just like be a bystander and just observe what's going on?
I definitely would have like went looking for them, but I also would have tried helping to save from the fire. I don't know. I would definitely be doing something.
Yeah, not just a bystander.
Yeah, not just like, oh, look at the pretty flames as the
Oh,
screams of people are dying inside.
I can make s'mores.
So the media talks about Delphine quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Henry Castellanos and George Washington Cable wrote a couple things. Oh, they wrote a book that was based on contemporary reports in newspapers such as the New Orleans Bee and the Advertiser, and also based on Harriet's 1838 account. He added some of his own synthesis, dialogue, and speculation to the story of Delphine.
Mm.
And it's also, I didn't get the name of the novel, but I did two novels. One of them is called Madame Delphine, that is
Mm-hmm.
not about her. So he's got two novels with the name Delphine. So it's, don't get them confused if you go looking for them.
Got it.
After 1945, accounts of those who were enslaved by the Laurellis became more explicit. Jean Delavine, who wrote Ghost Stories of Old New Orleans in 1946, alleged that Delphine had a, quote, sadistic appetite that seemed never appeased until she had inflicted on one or more of her black servers some hideous form of torture, end quote. And he also claimed that those who responded to the 1834 fire had found, quote, male slaves stark naked, chained to the wall, their eyes gouged out, their fingernails pulled off by the roots. Others had their joints skinned and festering, great holes in their buttocks where the flesh had been sliced away, their ears hanging by shreds, their lips sewn together. Intestines were pulled out and knotted around naked waists, and there were holes in skulls where a rough stick had been inserted to stir the brains. End quote.
How sadistic to do that to.
I know. Like, I was literally cringing the entire time reading that,
I'm
let alone
cringing
saying it
right
out loud.
now, like hearing it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, Jean Delavine did not cite any of the sources for these claims, and so they're not supported by any primary sources.
Mm.
So there's a chance that it didn't happen.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. The story was further embellished later in Journey into Darkness, Ghosts and Vampires of New Orleans in 1998, written by Kalila Katharina Smith. That's a weird one. Anyways, she was the operator of a New Orleans ghost tour business. Smith's book added several more explicit details to discoveries allegedly made by rescuers during the 1834 fire, including a, quote, victim who obviously had her arms amputated, her looked like a human caterpillar, end quote. And also, there were claims about another who had her limbs broken and reset at odd angles, so she resembled a human crab. Yeah. Many of the details in Smith's book were also unsourced, while others were not supported by the sources given. And then also, you have the betrayal by Kathy Bates in American Horror Story. So it kind of seems like same thing with like Elizabeth Bathory that we were talking about, where their story just seems to get worse and worse as history goes by.
Mm-hmm.
So did she actually commit those crimes? Or was it her husband? Or was it just all totally made up into this big conspiracy theory to scare children like 100, 200 years later? The world may never know.
Either way, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, that's why I feel like I said, I've known about this serial killer for a while, and I was really excited when Kathy Bates was going to betray her. I've always felt like female serial killers to this extent were always like elaborated and just exaggerated. And I don't know if that has to do with like, because New Orleans is such a mixed cultural race place
Mm-hmm.
that it could have very well been exaggerated to protect slaves and end slavery to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, there's and like the whole thing with like Elizabeth Bathory, where her family was royalty and they were trying to get rid of her because she was a wealthy woman, and that wasn't okay at the time. Well, Delphine is the same way. She was a wealthy woman, and yeah, it's conspiracy theories.
Well, That was a not so fun wild ride. That's
You
dark.
wanna, yeah, it is. It's very dark. You wanna get us started on the tarot reading?
Yeah, so I'm not sure why Chelsea likes keeping secrets from you guys, but the tarot reading that we're doing today is the tarot reading for the month ahead. Well, technically, today is Friday, so we're already 1 week in of October, so we're a little late, but it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. So this tarot reading is going to consist of 5 cards. The first card is going to represent our theme for the month. Card 2 is something that would bring us joy to make time for. Card number 3, a challenge that we may need to face or may face. Card number 4, the most aligned way for us to address it. And card number 5, advice to keep with us this month. So card number 1, our theme for the month. And the card that we got was Princess of Cups Reversed. Our theme. Running away will not solve your problems. Whatever the vice may be, it only provides temporary comfort that can prove damaging in the long run. Signs of emotional insecurity peek through when you demand too much from your loved ones and are unable to give in return. It's easy to sink into low tides, but have faith that you have the ability to swim above the waves. Anchor yourself inside. Ask your inner child what she needs, or he, and get to your core issues. By tending to your little one, you can open up blockages you have in other areas like your creativity and relationships. Emotional instability, temper tantrums are sure to run high when you have unresolved issues. Learn to check in from time to time so that you don't emotionally explode whenever you're triggered. I think this card definitely hits me in a soft spot, but
Yeah, I definitely get a lot of like, you're going to be doubting yourself this month and you're going to be having a lot of creative blocks. And you just need to remember that whatever is going on this month, we're going to all get through it.
mhm. So card number 2, something that would bring us joy to make time for. And the card that I got, or that we got, was 7 of Swords. All right, sneaky, sneaky. Be careful who you confide in, as you may not be able to trust them with your secrets. This is a time to be discreet and protect yourself, as confiding in others can bring more harm than good. Underhanded methods used to gain the upper hand can be rewarding if you don't get caught. Deception is at play. Whether it is you being the predator or the prey, you are seeing what you can get away with and pushing past boundaries to gain advantage. Seeking shortcuts seem appealing, as you don't want to waste any time or effort on the things that don't matter in the long run. In your eyes, you're working smarter, not harder. However, be clear on what this course of action will do to your conscience and the possible impact that it will have on others.
So, something seems too good to be true. It probably is. Don't let other people deceive you, and think logically and tactically, but also don't be afraid to try new things. Did I get that?
You got that. All right, card number 3, a challenge that we may face, and we got 9 of Swords. A living nightmare. Your worst fears are coming true. You've managed to manifest your worries by constantly thinking about your worst case scenarios, creating anxiety and stress. Making a mountain out of the molehill perpetuates your despair and fuels your melancholy. Fear and doubt are paralyzing you from moving forward, with endless what if scenarios playing over and over in your head. You are frozen with the crippling fear and doubt that you've created, and beating yourself up is only making it worse. Transform yourself out of the darkness and leap out of the shadows. Become your own cheerleader and acknowledge yourself for all the good that you've been doing. Celebrate your wins and breathe in all the blessings. Ease your anxiety by remembering all is not lost. That I think that's very clear.
Yeah, I definitely think so too.
For this card. Card number 4, the most aligned way for us to address it. The card that we got for this one, and might I mention, we're getting a lot of swords. Okay. So again, it was a 10 of Swords, the most aligned way for us to address it. Stabbed in the back without any warning, leaving you feeling betrayed by those you trust. Do you fight back or let it go? This unexpected setback feels like failure on all levels, and you're looking for someone to take the blame, even if that means yourself. Sacrificing your needs can inadvertently allow people to take advantage of you. I kind of struggled with that word. I don't know if you could tell. This
But
is
you
a
got it.
Thank you. This is a low blow to your self esteem, and it will take time to get back up again. Be careful of playing the victim and throwing a pity party to get attention. Losses often feel like failures, but try to look at it as a painful transition to beginning anew. Bad news is usually hard to swallow, but you cannot grow without change, even if it's terrible. Times are difficult, but you can only go up from here. With the rise of the sun, the dawn is bringing a new day. So they're definitely telling us to push through whatever this challenge that may come our way.
The only way to address it is head on.
It's funny that we get this card. We did a low-key reading earlier for someone, and this card also came up. So I think,
And almost the exact same meaning too.
yeah, so I think you and I should also be kind of hearing out the cards. I think they weren't just specific to that person, but maybe to a lot of us.
Yeah.
So card number 5, this is the last card, is advice to keep with us this month. And the card that we got is Princess of Swords reversed. This one kind of flew out at me and fell on the floor. It's kind of rude, but whatever. So advice to keep with us this month, guys. Challenging authority with a know-it-all attitude can get old pretty quick. You're bored and in need of a mental stimulation to keep up with your rapid-fire thoughts. All talk and no action leads to a distrust between you and your peers. Making promises you cannot keep does not bode well for your reputation, nor aligns with your intentions. Communication is a two-way street. Become aware of how you speak to others, as it may rub them the wrong way, and you can come off as annoying instead of intelligent. Ooh, excitement spurs you. However, your energy is scattered when you try to do it all at once. Fear of people judging you can stop you from spreading your thoughts and ideas. Don't let the haters get you down. The world wants to hear what you have to say.
I feel like that was pretty
Clear?
clear advice to keep with us this month.
Yes.
So, ghosties, we are going to start introducing oracle cards in this episode. I plan on using oracle cards a lot more in season 2, so there's a little spoiler for you.
Season 2.
We're almost done with season 1. We've only got 8 episodes after this.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Bruh, we should do a pop quiz. LOL. Just kidding.
Imagine though.
Hey, there could be a little prize, you know?
Yeah.
If you get all the answers right. I don't know. I might think of something.
So, oracle cards are very similar to tarot cards, where they're both used for divination. The differences include how they're produced. So, a tarot set is made up of 78 cards, and they're pretty much always the same. Whereas the number of oracle cards that are in a set are based on the development of the theme. So essentially, the tarot cards tell the same story no matter what theme or style of cards you get. And the oracle cards always tell different ones based on both the creators, the themes, and the symbols.
Shout out to Stephanie for gifting me my first deck of oracle cards. They were pretty cool. I barely touched them though because I'm more familiar with tarot.
Yeah, and I am too, but I don't know. Like, I have a lot of oracle sets, just like I do with tarot, but card reading is my specialty, even if I'm not as fluent with oracles because of, like, the variety in meanings. Because, like I said, tarot has, like, the same meanings over and over. But anyways, so for the month of October, I'm gonna pull a card for us to focus on and channel. The set that I'm using is the Ritual deck by Cassie Uhl. And this set has representation from all types of natural elements like the moon phases, crystals, runes, chakras, plants, etc. So the card that I picked was the crown chakra, and it means bliss, communion, and impermanence. So the message of this card is that our soul is boundless and infinite. The crown chakra is here to remind you that you're connected to everything and everyone because all is one. Time and space do not exist in the realm of your crown. Only bliss and communication dwell within it. Your crown chakra is a powerful connection to source energy. Allow yourself time to leave your worldly woes behind and be reminded of these truths. So, the mantra that we should focus on this month is My soul knows no bounds. And I feel like that goes back to our tarot reading where it's like, take action, don't just talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, the correspondences for this card are Spirit and the New Moon. And the ritual, for those of you that would like to do the ritual, is to draw in the energy of your crown chakra through visualization, meditation, and gemstones. What you're going to do is sit cross-legged on the floor, place a gemstone in each hand, like clear quartz or selenite, to open your crown chakra. You can also look up what other stones represent or are correspondences for the crown chakra. That way, if you don't have like a clear quartz or a selenite wand or anything, you can find substitutes.
Are you going to do the ritual?
Yeah, I'm going to do the ritual. So the next step is to imagine your crown chakra, which is right above your head, glowing with bright white and rainbow light. You want to visualize a cord of this white rainbow light stretching from your crown chakra into the sky, the sun, and then beyond. Allow the light filled cord to enter and to fill your crown chakra. Visualize the light spreading through your entire body until you are consumed by a glowing white rainbow light. Stay in this state of bliss for as long as you like or can. Now, the reason why I say for as long as you can is because if you have never meditated before or practiced it, it's very hard.
Yeah, I've tried meditating before and I can't.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I have been trying to meditate for like 2, 3 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And the longest that I can sit still while doing it is 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Yes,
But
I timed
also,
it.
but also that's the thing. Like, there's no time limit to meditating. Whether it's a
See,
minute, a 30 seconds, or even like the 15, 30 minutes. Like, there's no
yeah,
rule.
yeah. And see, for me, the reason why I time it is because I want the longer time to actually like sit because I feel like every time I get into the zone, I'm pulled out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So with like kids and everything, it's very hard for me to not be distracted because
Mm-hmm.
every single little noise is like, what was that? Did they break something? Did they get into something? Like it's a constant nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's why for me, that's like the longest that I can get, which it helps, but it's not long enough for me personally. So I've been working on that and I feel like the crown chakra ritual is going to help. Gives me something specific to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, thank you, Ghosties, for joining us this week. Make sure you give us a follow on our social media. If you want a tarot card reading from us, feel free to DM us and we'll choose one lucky person a week.
Actually, I do have something to say really quick before you
Of course you do.
end it. I'm so sorry.
This is why
Attention.
I ask.
Attention on me now. Spotlight. Also, today is, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Today is day 7 of our Tales of Spooky Coffee House October challenge on Instagram. And if you guys weren't aware, go check us out on Instagram, see what our posts are. We actually have the list posted as well if any of you guys want to join us. It's been fun. Chelsea has been a pain in the ass about some of the things that we have to do. Because she's not taking in consideration that I live in LA, not a state where you get all your seasons.
And I keep telling Veronica that it's called a challenge for a reason.
Oh my god. Anyways, just end the episode already.
We're your hosts. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Veronica.
Have a spooky weekend. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.